go!
Nope.
Go!
Oh, I don't think we can do this in a minute.
Oh yeah, we can. Just
the snow's not sticky enough.
In my wrestling.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Awana verse time. So today we're going to be doing our verse in the outdoors because we got to do some shoveling today. So we might as well do some shoveling and learn our verse. It's going to be fun. So let's say our verse one time through before we change anything about it. Alright, Genesis 15 verse 6. Abram believed the Lord and he credited it to him as righteousness. Genesis 15 verse 6. Alright, think we got it a little bit? If we did, let's cover up some of the verse. If not, go back and read it through one time again before you get to this part of the video. So, it doesn't work. Alright, so our shovel didn't work. So now I'm going to try and take it off with some of our water, but first we're going to say the verse through again. So Genesis 15 verse 6. Abraham believed the Lord and he credited it to him as righteousness. Genesis 15 verse 6. Alright, let's go and spray some of this off. And it's not working again. I wonder why. Oh, my water's all frozen. So, I guess it's back to the drawing board to take off our words here. I was really hoping it didn't break the water bottle, but we're good. Alright, let's try this one more time. Genesis 15 verse 6. Abraham believed the Lord and he credited it to him as righteousness. Genesis 15 verse 6. Okay, so I went around the camp a little bit, and because my water didn't work and my shovel didn't work, so I figured maybe I'd try and take some off with my tree branches here. Got a couple different kinds. So let's see if this works. And nothing again. So let's say it one more time, and then I got one final idea, maybe this will work. So Genesis 15 verse 6. Abraham believed the Lord and he credited it to him as righteousness. Genesis 15 verse 6. Alright, so I went looking around the camp a little bit, scouring around, seeing if I could see anything that could take this off the board. And so thankfully I found a beach towel that we think a camper left last summer. So if you recognize this beach towel, comment. You might only get half of it back though. But, so let's take some of these words off, see if this one works. Alright, not the best, but it works better than the other things. So let's do this. Let's read it through one more time and then erase some more words. So Genesis 15 verse 6. Abraham believed the Lord and he credited it to him as righteousness. Genesis 15 verse 6. Alright, let's take off some more words. Alright, Genesis 15 verse 6. Abraham believed the Lord and he credited it to him as righteousness. Genesis 15 verse 6. Alright, let's take off some more words and then say it one more time. Alright, you think we can say it? I don't know, let's try. Genesis 15 verse 6. Abraham believed the Lord and he credited it to him as righteousness. Genesis 15 verse 6.
You are the peace in my troubled sea.
Go! Romans!
what?
16!
What?
19 says!
Say what?
Romans!
What?
16!
What?
19 says!
Say what?
Be excellent at what is good, be innocent of evil. Be excellent at what is good, be innocent of evil, and the God of peace will soon crush Satan. Yeah, God will crush him where? Underneath your feet. Who? Roman.
What?
16.
What?
19 says.
Say what?
Roman.
What?
16.
What?
19 says.
Say what?
Be excellent. Now what is good? Be innocent of evil. Be excellent. Now what is good? Be innocent of evil. And the God of peace will soon crush Satan. Yeah, God will crush him
Where?
underneath your feet. Who? Roman.
What?
16.
What?
19 says.
Say what?
Roman.
What?
16.
What?
19 says.
Say what?
I've got a river of life flowing out of me. Makes the lame to walk and the blind to see. Opens prison doors, sets the captives free. I've got a river of life flowing out of me. Spring up a well, goosh, goosh, in my soul. Spring up a well, goosh, 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 within my soul. Spring up a well, tidal away within my soul. And life abundantly. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do for you. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do for you. The mountains are His, the rivers are His, the stars are His handiwork too. Woohoo! My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do for you. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Go! Go!
Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my trouble.
Hey, welcome back to Minute to Win It. We got some interns here, and the game is a bit different this time. The game is around the world. It's 60 seconds. Let's see if they can make it all the way to the end. Let's give it a shot. Ready, set, go!
How long was that? Yes, how long was that?
It looks like 1 minute was a challenge just too tough to beat. See if you can do it. Grab a couple friends. See if you can go 60 seconds around the world. Go!
I won't fear what tomorrow brings. With each morning I'll rise.
Welcome back to Awana Online. We are so happy to have you joining us. Welcome back to Story Time. For the last little while, we've been learning about Abram. We've been learning about Abram's story. And I just want to review a couple of the things we have learned so far. So we've learned that God has called Abram from his home country, or from his home. We've learned that God has called him from the place that his father's family was from, and from that city. And God has called him to a place that God said He would show him. And we learned that Abram trusted God and he obeyed God. This is the first word that we have here to remind us of what we've learned about Abram. He trusted God, he believed God, and he obeyed God. We've also learned a little of how God has given Abram promises. I'd like to read you one. This is out of Genesis, the first book in the Bible. We're still in Genesis. This is chapter 12, verses 2 and 3. God says, I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. So God has given Abram promises. It's the next word that we have going up here. I hope you can read that. God's promises are also starting to look towards this deliverer that God is going to send, part of the whole world being blessed through his family. So God has given Abram great promises. And Abram has believed and obeyed God, believed his promise, trusted God. We learned last week how Abram had left with his nephew Lot, and how they had so many flocks and herds and families, and how they ended up having to separate and go different ways. We learned how Lot looked and saw all the beautiful land with the nice grass, and the other way wasn't looking as nice. So Lot chose to go where the beautiful green grass was, and Abram went the other way. Abram had given Lot the first choice. After that, God again came to Abram and gave him another promise. We'll read about this one in Genesis chapter 13 this time, verses 14 to 17. The Lord said to Abram after Lot had parted from him, Lift up your eyes from where you are and look north and south and east and west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go, walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you. So God has promised Abram here not only land, lots of land, but God has also promised him family. For Abram here, who is over 90 years old, this is an incredible promise. Abram right now has no kids, none. And God has promised him a huge family. God has promised him more family. He says, like the dust of the earth, if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. A huge, huge family, lots of descendants. And right now, Abram has no kids. Incredible promise from God. Later on in Genesis chapter 15, so one more chapter, God again comes and makes a promise to Abram. We'll read Genesis chapter 15, verses 1, 5, and 6. It says, After this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward. He took him outside, so God took him outside and said, Look up at the heavens and count the stars, if indeed you can count them. Then he said to him, So shall your offspring be. Here's just a picture to give us an idea, a picture for our minds of what kind of this could have looked like. If you look up in the night sky, if you ever have, see how many stars there are when it's totally dark. There's just stars everywhere. You can't count them all. There are so many stars. This is what God is promising him, that your descendants will be like those stars, more than you can even count. And then verse 6 says, Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. God is really happy with Abram. God has given him incredible promises of so much land and so much family, so many descendants after him. And Abram doesn't have any of these things now, but he believes God, and God is very happy with him because he believes him for his promises. A little while later, God again gives Abraham promises. God makes a covenant with Abram. A covenant, like a promise or an agreement. When God makes this covenant with Abram, he does something really cool. He changes his name. So up till now, he's been Abram, which means exalted father. But God in this covenant changes his name to Abraham, which means father of a multitude of children. God also changes Abram's wife's name, Sarai. Her name Sarai meant princess, but God changes her name to Sarah, which means mother of nations. Again, part of this, showing this promise that God's made to them. God is promising him these so many descendants that are going to come after him. And Abram, even though he still doesn't have any kids and he's getting close to 100, he believes God. He trusts God. And not too long after this, God gives Abraham and Sarah the son that he has promised them. When he was 100 years old, God made Abraham a father. So there are two really important things that I want us to learn from this. One of them, so we can see, believe. Abraham believed God. Abraham believed the promises that God gave him over and over, these promises that Abraham couldn't bring about in his own strength. He was way too old for having kids. He didn't have land, but God made these promises and God believed him. Abraham trusted God for who he was and believed in his promises. And we can also see from here that God keeps his promises. God is truth. God is perfect. God doesn't break his promises or change his mind like we see people doing here on earth. God keeps what he says he will do. He promised Abraham some amazing things, and he did them. God keeps his promises. Two very important things for us to remember. Abraham as an example of believing God and trusting God for who he is and trusting in his promises, and knowing that God will keep what he says. God will do what he promises. Please join us again next week. We'll continue on in this story. We'll learn more about the family of Abraham and what God has in store in this story, and learn more for our lives today.